All right, let's just jump straight into it. We're going to talk about how to turn $1,000 into a real first step toward financial freedom in 2025. And look, this isn't some risky get-rich-quick thing. It's about a smart, steady plan for your future.
So let's kick things off with a big question. What if that $1,000, the money that's so easy to spend on something else, what if that could be the actual seed that grows your entire financial future? I mean, it's a pretty powerful idea, right? And honestly, it's way more doable than you probably think.
And this right here, this really boils it down to the choice we all have. On one hand, you've got that instant hit. New clothes, a cool gadget, a weekend trip. It's fun, for sure, but then poof, the money's gone. But on the other hand, that exact same money could be quietly working for you in the background, growing and compounding over time. And that's the path we're going to dig into.
Okay, so before we even get to the fun part of where to put your money, we've got to talk about the most important step of all, building a solid financial foundation. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't build a house on sand, right? And you definitely don't want to start investing on shaky ground.
So here they are, the 3 absolute must-dos. Step 1, you got to get rid of any high-interest debt. I'm talking credit cards mainly. The interest you're paying there can literally wipe out any gains you make from investing. Second, build up a little emergency fund. Just aim for 1 month of essential expenses to start. This is your cushion, so you don't have to sell your investments if your car suddenly dies. And finally, number 3, open up a brokerage account.
And hey, don't let that last one scare you off. Opening a brokerage account sounds way more intimidating than it is. These days, it's super easy. You've got platforms like Fidelity, Schwab, or even Robinhood that make it so simple to get going. And the best part? A lot of them don't have a minimum balance, which is perfect when you're starting with that first $1,000.
So really, the main takeaway here is to think of this whole stage as building your personal launchpad. It's the groundwork that makes sure that when your investments finally lift off, they do it safely, without the risk of just crashing and burning right at the start.
All right, Launchpad is built. So now the big question, where does that $1,000 actually go? Well, for pretty much any beginner, the smartest and honestly the simplest answer is in something called an ETF.
So what on earth is an ETF? Okay, it stands for Exchange Traded Fund, but forget the jargon. The best way to picture it is like a shopping basket. But instead of groceries, it's filled with tiny little pieces of tons of different companies. So instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, betting on just one company, you're instantly spread out across hundreds. It's a game changer for reducing risk and getting more stability right from the get-go.
And speaking of hundreds of companies, check out this number, 500. This is a really important number when it comes to simple, effective investing. Let's talk about why.
So that 500? That's how many of the biggest US companies you can own a piece of all in one go, with something called an S&P 500 ETF. You might see them listed with tickers like VOO or SPY. Basically, with just one purchase, you're buying a tiny slice of the 500 largest, most powerful companies in the country. It's pretty much the easiest way to get instant diversification.
And honestly, the results kind of speak for themselves. What's really cool is when you look at the historical average. Now, of course, past performance never guarantees future results, we have to say that, but historically, the S&P 500 has averaged a return of somewhere around 7 to 10% a year, long term. That's the power of just letting the whole market do its thing. Okay, want to hear a little pro tip to make this even better? It's a strategy called dollar cost averaging. Basically, instead of throwing all $1,000 in at once, maybe you invest $100 every month. By doing that, you end up buying shares when the market is up and when it's down, which averages out your cost and lowers your risk. See, it's all about being consistent, not trying to perfectly time the market. All right, so if you're feeling good about this and maybe want to add another layer to your game plan, we can talk about mixing things up for a more balanced portfolio.
A really common model for beginners is something called the 60-30-10 split. It's super simple. 60% of your money goes into those ETFs we talked about for growth. 30% goes into safer stuff like bonds, which are basically just loans you give to a government or company, or even just a high-yield savings account. That's your stability. And that last 10%, that's your fun money, your chance to pick a stock in a company you really love and believe in. It gives you a great mix of growth, safety, and a little bit of your own personal flavor.
And now for the secret sauce. The thing that makes this whole system so powerful over time. You have to reinvest your dividends. So, dividends are just little cash payments that companies give to their shareholders, like you. When you automatically reinvest them, that money buys you more shares, which then earn their own dividends. It's like your money starts having money babies. That right there is the magic of compounding. Okay, so let's wrap all this up. Here's your clear, simple action plan for 2025. This is the whole roadmap, boiled down. Let's run through it one more time. First, build your safety net. That's paying off the bad debt and getting that emergency fund set up. Second, start simple and smart with ETFs. Get that instant diversification. And third, if you're feeling up for it, mix in some safer stuff for balance. That's it. It's a super straightforward plan that anyone can follow. You've probably heard this saying before, and when it comes to investing, it is absolutely true. Because of compounding, time is your single biggest advantage.
But look, none of us have a time machine. So the most important thing to remember is this. The second best time is right now, today. Taking that first step, no matter how small, is so much more powerful than waiting around for some perfect moment that, let's be real, is probably never going to show up.
And that brings us right back to where we started, but now the question is for you. You've got the roadmap, you know the steps, so how are you going to invest your first $1,000? The choice is all yours.